Today we're going to do something that we've been trying to do, it seems like, for months now. The thing that's been holding us up is the weather. Every time we get time to do it, weather kicks in, or we got some other issue. It's, basically the homesteader's dilemma. Always something else. Anyway, today we got this wire, and we have got to get this wire around our perimeter fence, which is up on that ridge you see behind me. And it goes all the way up. In fact, from the bottom of my property line to the very top is a little bit more than 500 feet. So that is a massively steep slope. But the problem we have today is we need to get this wire to that side of the property, but in between us and it is a giant chasm, literally a cliff, that from where I'm standing to the bottom of it, maybe about 30 feet. So we need a solution for that. We're going to use an old tech, low tech solution to get this material and all the other things we need from where I'm standing to the other side with a little more than rope and some wood that we harvested from the property. So folks, in a million years, I would have never guessed the things I learned for tactical environments would apply themselves to the farm environment. But because I don't want to buy a tractor and because I don't want to buy an ATV, my only solution is to walk all the way down to the bottom of the property, cross this giant chasm, then come back up the other side. So we are going to build a one-rope bridge. That's right, a one-rope bridge, and it doesn't take forever to do. So I need to quit yapping because we got an ice storm coming tomorrow, and I need to get this done today. So it's time to get to work. First thing we did is that we had to chop down a couple of unwanted trees that were in bad spots anyway. So we're going to make good use of them today. Now, ideally with this bridge, it would be great to have a tree right where I'm standing or somewhere around here. But because this is the site where the house is located, there are no trees really close. And I'm definitely not going to anchor this to the porch. So essentially on this end, we're going to be taking a few things and combining them today. On this end, I'm going to make a tree, or I'm going to have the effects of what a tree could do for us. It's all going to make sense here in a minute. So I got this 11 mil rope that's already been used extensively out there doing some tree projects. And it's really not safe for human, for humans to use it right now. At least I'm not going to trust it. But it's extremely strong. It's 11 mil static rope. And all the ropes we're going to be using today, folks, are very, very static. There's a time when you need dynamic, but this ain't it. So all I'm going to do right now, we're going to attach this to these two trees that we cut down. I'm going to S-fold it throughout and then put some fraps on the end. Maybe in the future I'll go into greater detail about how this all unfolds, but that's where we start. All right, so we got our A-frame made, and that took all of like 5 minutes. Okay, now we got to anchor it. And these little corkscrew suckers are what you want. You don't want those little flimsy things, not for this. So anyway, we've had these for I don't even know how long. I think we even had them back in Texas. So now we're going to put them to work. We're going to get these in the ground, and we never trust one anchor point, ever. So there'll be two. We'll put one here and then one a couple of feet away from it, just in case. One's probably way, way, way more than adequate. Okay, what I'm doing here is a round turn with 2 quick releases. It could just be a round turn with 2 half hitches, but if I want to get it done quickly and release this thing, I need something that's going to hold it in place. And at the same time, when I'm done, I can get it done quickly. The way this is set up, as long as it's under tension, which it is, everything's cool. It ain't going nowhere. So when I'm done with this thing, all I have to do is pull this one and then pull the next one, and the whole thing collapses. So, round turn with 2 quick releases. Now we're ready for the next spot. Okay, I traded out my round turn with 2 quick releases to a round turn with half hitches because I want 2 anchor points. And the first anchor point that I have over there, the ground is a little bit soupy, so I don't trust it. And even if I did, I would still have 2 anchor points. So the last one, ideally for your anchor point, you want a bowline. But in this particular case, I want a round turn with 2 half hitches. I want something that when it's under tension that it tightens up. And that's what a round turn with 2 half hitches. And there's any number of knots that would do the same thing. Now, excuse the trash. We're still cleaning up from the last people that used to live here. And so we're uncovering a little bit more. So there's my round turn. And I'm going to do it again. 2 half hitches. There's 1. Make sure your half hitch is going opposite directions. Otherwise, it's a girth hitch, right? And here's my second half hitch. I could have made that 2 round turns with 2 quick releases if I wanted. And if you still don't like it, just throw more half hitches in it. But you don't have to. I'm just going to tie with my running end. I'm always going to tie an overhand, not a half hitch, with whatever I don't have left. So I'm going to do that. I could tie half hitches, nowhere near as reliable as an overhand. So there we go. Round turn with 2 half hitches, overhand, overhand with the running end. Now, typically, if this would have been a military 1-rope bridge, a lot of this stuff would not be done this way because I'm not in the military anymore, and because I'm not doing it for any tactical reasons. All I'm doing is doing what works and what we need for here. So now I'm going to take this webbing, which is pretty darn strong. I'm going to get it up right up through the top of those 2. All I really need to do is just tie an overhand in the top of this thing. And now, to get 1 step closer to rock and rolling, I'm going to take this high-end snap link, stick it through like so, and we're 1 step closer into making this 1-rope bridge. I'm going to take the excess of this and just stick it over here in an overhand just to get it out of the way. Looking a whole lot better. Let's see if it can hold my whole weight. If it falls down here, yep, this thing's ready to rock and roll. So my lovely assistant took that end of the rope all the way over, and that's, believe me, that's quite a trek, and it's no fun. Here we are, up through our snap link, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna anchor it back on the bottom of that porch. Now, here in a second, I'm gonna go get my hole saw, or rather a paddle bit, and I'm gonna anchor to the toughest part of that porch that I know ain't gonna go flying when the stuff goes across here. So anyway, that's our next step. We're through here. I'm gonna take this, walk it back there, tie it to the porch, then we'll worry about the other end. Okay, got me a hole in here. Now, this, folks, you can't see it all, but just take my word for it. This is very, very secure. If this thing comes loose, I'm gonna go call Ripley's. I shouldn't say that, but that's about how I feel about it. So this is 1 anchor point, just like everything else. We are gonna have multiple anchor points. So I'm just gonna pull this through here. And a lot of my climbing buddies out there probably be a little upset that I don't have something. This isn't all that sharp. It's not gonna yank my rope out. Okay, so now I'm just gonna tie, there's an anchoring knot. This is the most important stuff. I'm gonna put a bowline in here. Every time I tie this knot, I think of one of my best friends, who, by the way, is named Milk Boy. That's who the dog's named after, just so you know. There we go. Bowline. Now, the excess that comes out of here, I'm gonna anchor it in another spot as well, but on a different support completely. So here I am over here. I'm gonna go to the next one, and I'm gonna double anchor it there. Yeah, I remember JD, or Milk Boy, taught me this knot on the way to sapper school. I couldn't figure this thing out for the life of me, and he showed me an easy way of doing it. So there we go. Bowline here, bowline here. Just for GP, I'm gonna tie an overhand right here. Super, super secure. So there we go. Now it's time to go to the other end and get this sucker tight. All right, everything's rocking and rolling over to this side, and it's no fun getting here. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna attach it to a tree, and if you remember a few videos back, I showed you the cat's paw. I'm gonna show you how it works again. This is the tree I'm gonna attach to, right? Now, there are some people that would just say, okay, let's just get a bunch of people on here, wrap this thing around, make it tight. Well, I only got 2 of us right now. William had to go handle some business. And I'm gonna show you a cool way of making this thing adequately tight to be able to do what it is we need to do. Now, I want it a little bit high. I think I want it right about here, but the tree that I'm going to be attached to right there to make it tight is that way. But I'm going to use 2 cool knots that I've showed you before that are going to help assist this whole thing. Actually, I'll probably show you about 3 or 4. So let's go ahead and do this. So here we go. This is the rope we need for our business. This is just your regular, everyday, common strap. Now, I could make this thing plenty strong enough to do, or tight enough to do what I need to do, but under no circumstances will I ever trust something like this. So all I'm going to do, a while back, I showed you in some of the tree video we did, the cat's paw knot. Well, here's a mangled version of it right here. And I told you before, the reason I like it so much is that for a middle of the line knot, it's easy to get undone. So I can go ahead, if I want, kind of pull it as hand tight as I want. I can go ahead and ratchet, tongue twister today. I'm going to get this thing somewhat tight. I'm going to get it pretty tight. And I'm going to show you the next phase of all this because I don't just trust this. So we're going to go back to the tree and I'm going to show you the really cool trick. One really cool trick that I learned at Fort Sherman in Panama. So let's go show you. All right, for those who've ever done a one rope bridge, you're probably thinking, man, what is this guy doing? There's a bunch of different ways of going about this, and some of them, in my view, are kind of convoluted. I'm not a big fan of them. But I'm going to show you one really cool way. I'm going to tie a prusik. Now, for those of you that don't know, the design of this prusik, the way I'm using it, is basically I need this rope to bite onto this rope. And when it's under tension, it will. Here's exactly what I'm talking about. So when it's not under tension, I can do one of these numbers, move just fine. When I put some tension on one of them, it's not going anywhere, right? But to have this ideal, I want to have a rope that's slightly, at least I'd say by 3 or 4 mils, smaller than the rope you're attaching it to. Okay, because I don't trust that ratchet strap, but I do trust this. And I know the tensile strength on this is very nice. I'm going to wrap this thing. In fact, I'm going to go a little higher because I know things are going to want to fall as I'm doing what I'm doing here. So all I got one prusik right here, right? I'm going to put another one, let's say, out to here. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to tie another prusik. This one I'm going to have a lot of running in. And I want it a little bit further out for a couple of reasons, which you'll see here in a little while. I got a prusik here, I got a prusik here, and they're both wrapped around that tree. This is under a little bit of tension, not much. You know, it's not as tight as I'm going to make it. So all I'm going to do is I tighten this more. I'm just going to slide these up as it tightens. So let's go back here and tighten this thing up, and then I'll slide this prusik until I get this thing. I want this thing as tight as a shock spring. This is why, if you have a dynamic rope, you're going to have a long day because there's a lot of stretch in it. Now, a static rope, which is what this is, and I got uses for both. But anyway, this static rope, I need it. It's going to stretch. Every rope is going to stretch. Even a hemp rope will stretch to some extent. I just need this thing to be as tight as can be. I don't want a whole lot of sag after it's under use. Remember, it's a bridge, right? Different kind of bridge, but a bridge nonetheless. Tighten this thing up a little more. Now let's go back and take a look at our prusik. Okay, as you can see, this is how much this thing was tight when I started, right? So this is how much slack I pulled out of my prusik. Okay, so I'm just going to raise it up to about where I want it, which is right about there. I can slide one or both of them. It doesn't matter at this point. See that? There we go. It's getting tighter. I'm going to make it a little tighter. As before, the cat's paw, easy as can be. There you have it. This whole bridge, this one rope bridge is being held right here by this. This is gripping on here. This is gripping on here. As long as it's under tension, it's not going anywhere. But it's totally irresponsible to, just like back there, I didn't have one anchor point. I'm going to do the same thing here. Even though I feel very comfortable with this, I'm going to go ahead. I got a couple of choices here. I can go back to that tree back there, or I can use this same tree. It's anchored here, but I could go ahead and tie right above it a round turn with 2 half hitches. Okay, it's time for the maiden voyage, folks. I could have gotten this thing considerably tighter, but let's just quickly go over what we did. We made an A-frame out of some really strong poles. Do they need to be this robust? No, but you know, The trees needed to come out anyway, so it is what it is. In the past, I would have tied a clove hitch with this rope at the top of this thing and done it all with one rope, but that's having the advantage of maybe 10, 15 people. We got the 3 of us right now, and for part of it, we had just 2 of us. So it's a project that I could honestly do by myself if I had to, except for the part I'm about to do. Now, this is where the rubber hits the road. Unless we want to walk all the way down this hill and walk back up with what, I don't know, this thing close to 300 pounds? I don't know, maybe 300 pounds of wire, 330 feet on there. That's a lot of wire, a lot of weight. And to walk it all the way up to the top of that ridge, we're gonna fly it over. So from start to finish, I mean, was it worth it? At least I'll let you know once we get this across there. But the real, you know, in terms of time, I mean, honestly, to construct this whole thing might have taken, if we didn't have to stop and do other things, it might have taken 45 minutes. So that's really not that long at all. So now we're gonna take this thing, hang it on to here, and we're gonna take this old rope that I was using for tree stuff. We're gonna use it as a tagline. If we just let this go, this thing's gonna slam into the tree. We wanna have a little more of a controlled descent, okay? So first things first, he's gonna lift that in, we're gonna snap this thing up here, and hopefully it goes easy. So here it is, we got this big old 300, I don't know how much it weighs. Snap link's good to go, everything's good to go. And all I'm gonna do is put a tagline on it. So all I'm gonna do is just a nice, easy descent, hopefully. Okay, so first time out, brand new rope, not uncommon, even with a static rope, for it to get a little bit of loose the first time you use it. So this is how much it loosened up on us. So all you do is go back to the drawing board. In fact, if I want, I can go ahead and readjust completely, okay? So I got the Prusik, it's more than sufficient. But just for GP, and because I want this thing even higher, I'm gonna wrap this thing. I'm gonna pull this one in a little bit. And I'm gonna wrap this tree just one time. I'm gonna go over the top, and all this is gonna do is bite into this tree when it's under tension. It's just, the Prusik didn't slide at all. It's just, it's a brand new rope, and it's not uncommon for it to do that. So all we're gonna do now, we're gonna go ahead, it's already tight. We're gonna make it even tighter. I probably ought to have a longer running end on this, but that'll do. So we're gonna go ahead, crank it up some more, and then we're gonna go ahead and send over the next load. Okay, so here we are, we got another one. First one, like I said, didn't go as well as we'd wanted. I'm just gonna scoot back a little bit so I'm not directly under this A-frame. I'm reasonably sure everything's cool. Okay, we got it a little bit tighter, and we could even make it tighter still. This rope can absolutely handle it. And all we're gonna do is just kind of control its descent with this tagline. We'll just go to the other side and pull it over. Are you filming?
Yes, dear.
Folks, remember, you can use this the other way too. We could take this tagline, get the things that are down the hill, and move them uphill. In fact, that's exactly what we're gonna have to do when we get this stuff over here. Every step of the way, unless we decide to come up with some other method, is going to be using these ropes, and we're rolling them up right now to use these ropes, maybe some kind of pulley system. Yeah, it would be nice to have an ATV or a tractor, but I'm from the Greg Judy school of frugalness, and if I need those things, maybe I'll go rent one. We'll see. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot that you can get done using old-fashioned know-how, and that's exactly what we try to do as often as possible. So folks, I hope this helps. Till next time, this is Billy the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. We'll see you next time.